Good evening. We're going to start this show, folks, okay? Because I know some of you have been sitting here for a while. Thank you for attending the first public meeting of the Midway Defective Windows Recipients not-for-profit organization. Thanks to West Lawn Park for allowing us to host this event here. And thank you to my Alderman, Marty Quinn, of the 13th Ward for co-sponsoring this event. As many of you know, Marty has been invaluable and relentless in assisting our community's efforts to get to the bottom of just what is going on with these windows in our homes and bringing political pressure to bear on the Chicago Department of Aviation to do what is right. That is also the case with Alderman Mike ZALEWSKI, Alderman Ed Burke, Alderman Raymond Lopez, Speaker Mike Madigan, and Congressman Mike Lipinski. Without the continuous political pressures being applied to this issue, we would not be where we are at this point. Let me just say that back in March, when I first discovered that the source of the burning plastic smell in my home was from my windows, there were some things I knew immediately. One, that what was happening in my home should not be happening 6 years after install. Two, that what was happening in my home absolutely posed a significant health impact to my family, my animals, and possibly anyone who visited my home. And three, that what was happening in my home was also happening to anyone else who got windows in 2011 from the Residential Sound Insulation Program through the Chicago Department of Aviation. And that's because I understand manufacturing. I knew that whatever material that was used in the fabrication of my windows was also used in the manufacture of everybody else's window from that year by that manufacturer. That's how it works. What I didn't know was just how widespread, and I could have never imagined that it would be across so many installation years. 1998-99, 2002, 2005, 2006, 2008, 2010, or 2011, excuse me, 2012, 2013, 2014, and people with windows from 2015 also have the same claim. And I'm telling you, that just blows my mind. One of the first points I want to stress is this. These windows were not free. Again, these windows were not free. Residing in the immediate vicinity of an ever-growing international airport has its challenges. Now, when I was a kid back in the 50s and 60s, business at Midway was almost non-existent. That didn't mean that it didn't have its drawbacks. I will never forget the crash in 1972, only 5 blocks from my childhood home, which took the lives of 41 passengers and 2 homeowners on the ground. And that was an eye-opening experience for me. I understood that living in such close proximity to an airport came with inherent dangers. Nevertheless, I chose to remain in the area where I would form lifelong friendships, met my husband, raised my son, and buy my first home in a neighborhood that I absolutely love. However, with the continuous expansion of Midway since the late 70s came an ever-increasing effect on the quality of the daily lives of the tens of thousands of residents living around them. The same is true for the residents of O'Hare. I don't want to eliminate them because they are experiencing this problem as well. The major impact, the deafening sound of the jet engines. So how does an industry that generated 45 billion, not million folks, 45 billion in annual economic activity, making millions and millions of dollars for a myriad of entities, continue to operate in the middle of a residential area and keep the residents in the area? They offer you soundproof windows to soundproof your home. Great idea. Know this, it is the hardworking, middle-class, family-oriented residents that take pride in their homes and their neighborhoods that surround these airports that makes our city viable and attractive to businesses and tourists who utilize these airports every single day. This is the essential dynamic that makes Chicago a desirable destination. Make no mistake about it. If these airports were surrounded by industrial district or an unattractive, dangerous neighborhood, that would be bad for business and bad for tourism and bad for the bottom line. We deserve these upgrades to our homes to make living around these airports bearable, because we make the airport an attractive place to come. So this year I learned a lot of things, but one of the most impactful terms I learned was the term fiduciary duty. I like this term because it clearly defines what it is to be an elected official or a city employee or an agent or contractor that's hired by a city entity. The Chicago Department of Aviation and all its employees and representatives have a fiduciary duty to the people surrounding these airports. This means that the utmost trust and confidence has been placed upon and accepted by the parties, and their number one obligation is to act for our benefit, health, safety, and welfare with the highest standard of care. Let me tell you, after being embroiled in this for 6 months, it's clear to me that Chicago Department of Aviation and their agents have clearly missed the mark with the residential sound installation program, and by a long shot. Due to the consistent inconsistency of the actions of the Chicago Department of Aviation, coupled with the lying, misinformation, and outright campaign of attrition intended to wear us into submission, a number of us decided the only appropriate response was to organize a community-based group of impacted homeowners. It is clear to us that the CDA's timing of in-home testing, end of October, beginning of November, is an insult to our intelligence. In addition to the suspect timing of this testing, I also asked you to think about the amount that the city is paying Amick Foster Wheeler for their services. $50,000. Now that might sound like a lot of money to you, but with all the research that I've done, that is a pittance. And what this small investment will buy the city are the results that will benefit them, not us. I'm confident of that. And just think about it. What do you think the landscaping budget is for Midway Airport? You see them putting the plants in, tearing the plants out, putting the plants in. That's a lot of money. I would bet that's easily over $100,000. And all the city can do is afford to invest $50,000 to get to the bottom of what is going on with these windows. Give me a break. So let's quickly talk about their so-called screening process, which, how many of you had your windows smelled here? Yeah. That's their scientific screening process, is to come and smell your windows, which is laughable and infuriating at the same time. They send someone to your home to smell your windows and measure the heat sometimes between them, sometimes on top of them, sometimes not. And they might say whether or not they smelled the smell, and then they leave. No report is given, despite people requesting them and people receiving them previously. I got one. Barbara Gabka got one. There are people here who have written inspection reports by these people that came in our homes. How come they're not giving them out anymore? What is up with that? And that's unacceptable. It's just not acceptable, folks. A couple of months ago, I posted this on my Midway Defective Window Recipients Facebook page, and I think it's worth repeating here today. Now, I want you all to imagine, you have a strong family history of colon cancer. You have siblings that have colon cancer. You're having the symptoms of colon cancer. You call your doctor, and he says he's going to come to your house and screen you for colon cancer. He shows up, and he smells you. He takes your temperature, and he proclaims you don't have colon cancer. Think about that. Because I know that there's people sitting in this room that probably had these people to their home, and they didn't show up when you asked them, or it was cold and cloudy, and the windows weren't doing what they're doing. And they said, no, we don't smell anything. And then you're left with like, well, what's next? And that really hasn't been clearly answered by the Chicago Department of Aviation. I also want to speak to those of you who have decided to go through with the replacement of your windows at this time, or who are strongly considering, because if you were in warranty and you've been confirmed, the Chicago Department of Aviation has made you an offer to come and replace your windows. I get it, okay? From the minute I knew it was my windows, I'm like, I gotta get these things out of my house. What the hell are they doing to my family? You know, I mean, if someone asked me, what's your first emotion when you think about these windows? And everybody thought it would be anger. It's not, it's fear. I'm scared. I'm scared of whether my son will be able to have children, because what's coming off these windows could affect his sperm production. Or it causes early puberty in young ladies, or it can cause cancer, or asthma, or God knows what. We don't know. So, let me find my place here, I'm sorry. But again, I'm going to ask you to think about what I'm going to say here, and see how the best way to proceed in this particular scenario would be. You're in a relationship. You find that the person you're in a relationship, and you placed your trust in them, has not acted in your best interest, which they are obligated to do. If you give somebody your trust, it should be returned. And they've broken that trust. You find they've hidden things from you, made every effort to dissuade you, they've lied to you, and have done everything in their power not to honor that trust. Finally, after much effort, kicking and screaming, they finally decide what works best for them, not you. Do you automatically decide to trust this person or this entity again? Do you accept the bouquet of flowers that they bring to say they're sorry and please forgive them and everything's okay? And in this scenario, the flowers are the testing, this ill-timed testing, and the replacement of windows, the same exact windows you already have in your home. And they don't know why they're doing what they're doing. Or do you want assurances? Don't you want to make sure that the problem that caused this bad behavior or situation in the first place has been completely resolved? Or do you blindly enter back into this relationship and hope that this time that they'll get it right? This is our family and our homes that we're talking about, the most important things in our lives. And we must not settle for a half-assed solution to this problem. We must get to the bottom of whatever that is, good or bad, because only then can steps to be made sure that this can never happen again, and that we can then start looking at what this means to everybody who has lived in one of these residences with these windows with regard to the health effects. There can be no shortcuts. That would be foolish on our part and be further irresponsible and negligent on the part of the CDA. So this not-for-profit organization, Midway Defective Window Recipients, will be there to ensure that the root cause is identified and our health impacts are identified. This is not going to be an overnight project, folks. We're not going to have the answer next month. We're not going to have a report in December that's going to say, oh, everything's fine. That's not how this is going to work. And I don't want to lull anybody to any false sense of security, but if you choose to support us, well, how come we're not doing something? How come we're not getting back to you? Please know that this takes time. I've probably invested, I'd say by now, about 400 hours of my own time between talking to environmental hygienists, window manufacturers, PVC extruders, PVC, people who recycle PVC, the press, government, our representatives. I mean, and homeowners. I'm talking to homeowners on Facebook, on the phone. I'm available, and now there will be more of us to be available for you. We will advocate for anybody who asks for our help. We're even willing to be present for your first screening, your second screening, or your third screening. And if you're ignored by the Residential Sound Insulation Program Office, there's a section at the bottom of the call log and steps that we gave you where you can sign that And basically, you are giving us the go-ahead to advocate on your behalf. We can then call the city that you've now given us the right to call on your behalf. And we also intend to use these blanket petitions that we're talking about to file formal complaints with several entities or any other entity that we feel needs to be made aware of what's going on with these windows. We're also going to raise funds for our own testing of these windows. And this is an undertaking. This is going to be a lot of money we're going to need to do this. And we hope that you'll stick with us. And even if you have your windows replaced, because no judgment, honest to God, if you have kids or if for whatever reason you say, I got to get these windows out of my house, then get them out of your house, okay? But stay engaged. Support our efforts any way you can. No amount is too small, and anybody who wants to help, come on, we'll take you. And this is a necessary step in the process. There's no way around it. So I have some homework for you guys, because as you know, the days are growing shorter, cooler, cloudier, and these windows are going to pretty much, it's like, think of it as a faucet. It's being shut off. They're not going to be doing, unless we get some unusual weather and some unusual warm days, chances are you're probably not going to smell these windows unless we have 70-degree days in January like we did last year. And I want you to stay connected to us via Facebook, and we'll have a website too that can be accessed, and we'll be using the email addresses that you gave us to send out an update and alerts as to our next functions and our progress as we go along with this. Do some investigation yourself, okay? Take a close look at the details surrounding similar community poisonings and mishaps with building materials or drinking water. Look up the timeline on Flint, Michigan. Do any of you remember that politician drinking that glass of brown swill on the TV like, oh no, it's totally fine? I mean, and then take a good look at Crestwood. They were pulling from a well that was poisoned with polyvinyl chloride, knowingly. And in both of these cases, there are criminal cases now against these people. I think they charged somebody with manslaughter in Flint, Michigan, and I think there's somebody going to jail in Crestwood. It will make you sick to read how these citizens were lied to and records were falsified. Also take a look at the Chinese drywall debacle affecting more than 100,000 homes in 20 states. There's questionable product coming into the states, and we're all starting to feel the effects of it. We have to come to grips with the fact that it's our turn to face this difficult battle, and we have to be prepared for whatever comes. We cannot stick our head in the sand and pretend this is not happening. In the meantime, keep calling the residential sound insulation office and demanding your inspection reports. I don't care if you call every day. Call every day if you can. Call once a week if you can. Call once a month if you can. But keep calling them, because that's paperwork you should have. These people came into your home and they inspected product that they are responsible for putting in your home. So you are entitled to that paperwork. You need to know who was there, what they did, and why, and what they found. It's important documentation that you should have and are entitled to. I also encourage all of you to attend this week's meeting of the Midway Noise Compatibility Commission. For those of you that were there, I think it was July, that 100 of us showed up and absolutely shocked those committee members because the CDA had not shared with them what was going on. I mean, these guys were like, well, I don't know nothing, I know. Well, now you do, okay? And now you need to be aware. And they need to start asking themselves, do we keep moving forward, putting windows in people's homes without knowing what is wrong with all the windows we've already put in? I think that's just crazy. And lastly, as soon as this weather breaks, you know what's going to happen, right? These windows are going to start to smell again. And the anxiety will rise in you, and the frustration and the anger. And all I can say is, let us know. When you start smelling your windows, if we haven't got, a phone number in place yet. As many of you know, people have messaged me on Facebook, and I'm very responsive, and I'm probably gonna have a couple of other people come on the page that can answer questions. But, hey, my windows are smelling today. I called the RSCP office, and they're telling me, they can't make it out or whatever. I did have a homeowner on Facebook page today tell me that they called the Residential Sound Insulation Program office today, and they told her they're totally booked for inspections and do not know if they will be adding more. I don't know what to say about this, except to me it makes sense, because frankly, coming to your home in the fall when it's cool, the days are shorter, and then when daylight savings time comes, the sun isn't going to be beating on these windows for as long as they have. So to me it makes sense. I think they should say, well, we're going to put off inspections until springtime or until the weather is more cooperative, but they didn't say that to her. So, but you know what? You gotta wonder if it makes sense to put off the screening until the weather is optimal. Wouldn't that also be true of the in-home testing they're proposing? Just saying. Let me close by thanking some very wonderful people who have stepped forward and given selflessly of their time and expertise. I'd like to thank my neighbors, Vicki and Rich. They're not here tonight because they're out of town. Fran Rampick, Jennifer Gutierrez, who had her boys running up and down stairs delivering flyers to every home they went by. Janet Tomzak, Jan and Robert Hopper, Yanya Taylor, Kelly Morrissey, Barbara Gabka, Jesus Garcia, and especially this lady right here, Annie PREVENAS. I'm telling you, she is a force to be reckoned with. She blows me away. I guess she reminds me of me maybe 20 years ago. But she's been instrumental in taking us from a group of concerned neighbors meeting in a backyard just a few short weeks ago to a bona fide nonprofit organization. I mean, that's amazing. It truly, truly is. Her professionalism and energy is amazing, and I'm so grateful that words cannot adequately express my gratitude, because frankly, I was overwhelmed a few weeks ago. I had no idea where this was gonna go or how this was gonna end up. So, and although this is never anything I'd wish on anybody, and through no planning on my part, I've become what somebody I spoke to at the State Department of Health, no, it was actually the ecology project. She says, oh, you're a reluctant community activist. This happened to me. I didn't search it out, I didn't plan on it, I didn't say I'm gonna join this cause. It came at me, and and I was also pushed by the CDA, by lying right to my face, and frankly, you play with this bull, you're gonna get the horns, and that's what they got. So, I wanna say that although it's been difficult, draining, frustrating, this has also been an extraordinary experience. I've met so many wonderful people. I've met people that have been around me for years and years, and I never knew they existed, and without this happening, I probably wouldn't. So, and lastly, I want to say, I truly love Chicago. I love my home. Every time I come down Lakeshore Drive and I see that cityscape and the lake, and I see all the wonderful parks and culture and people that live here, this city blows me away. I mean, I think it is one of a kind, and I'm proud to be a Chicagoan. And I love my neighbors, and I love my home, and I plan to fight for it. We'll be in touch, so you stay in touch. Thank you. We got a few words from Marty Quinn here.
How about a nice round of applause for Pam and Annie and the work that she's done, and all of the volunteers that helped put this event together. Thank you for being here. I'd like to recognize Alderman ZALEWSKI, the chairman of the Finance Committee. I'd like to recognize Michelle Murphy,
Michelle Murphy from the Finance Committee. I want to pick up on sort of where Pam had left off. Moving forward from a government agency, we have to take this head on. We cannot ignore this. We cannot pretend like it's going to go away. And I stand here today committed to taking this issue head on, getting to the facts, making sure that each and every one of you can go to sleep at night with a certain level of certainty that you are safe. And I know I share that commitment with Alderman ZALEWSKI, with Alderman Burke, with Speaker Madigan, Congressman Lipinski, that we're going to take this issue head on. And that's really, really important for each and every one of you to know. And to that end, my office, along with Speaker Madigan, has cut a check for part of your endeavors, Pam. And I know Chairman Burke has also cut a check for your endeavors. As we can, and Chairman ZALEWSKI has also cut a check. I think it's critically important that as we move through this process, we continue to stay engaged. You continue to utilize your elected officials as your advocates, along with Pam and Annie and the group. And together, we're going to get to the facts of the situation. So thank you for being here. We'll continue to work hard on your behalf. Thank you.
And now the wonderful Annie PREVENAS.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ann PREVENAS. I'm co-founder with Pam and several others of the Midway Defective Window Recipients non-for-profit corporation. Imagine that a toxic exposure is plaguing our community and no one knows why or how. Imagine that the RSIP and the CDA know what it is and refuse to disclose it to the community. Imagine that every time you enter your home, you are reminded that the problem continues to affect your family, your friends, your neighbors, and your children. As we all sit here today, you can rest assured that Pam and I, along with our dedicated team, are motivated to take the risk, along with the blood, the sweat, and the tears, in order to achieve results for the community. Emphasis on the results. We will take all means necessary in order to get the true and exact answers to the exposure through the Midway Defective Window Recipients non-for-profit corporation, because we joined together to find the answer. The real answer. The answer that everyone is afraid to know, but is obligated to receive. I go back to our mission, and we posted it, and it's in your flyers on the first page. Our mission is to provide all residents involved with the residential sound insulation program to true and exact scientific research and results of the potential chemical exposure and potential health hazards that are a consequence of the PVC window and door products provided to the impacted communities. That includes O'Hare and as well as Midway. Our focus is to provide results directly to the community for problems that we currently face. Our promise is to guide the community through this troubling time with integrity and respect. We are all here on this journey together, and we will open the door for everyone. And we welcome all members of the community to do the same. Open the door for your neighbors and spread the word. Let everyone know that you can, that the plague that we are facing is real and is not going to go away anytime soon. I briefly digress to thank Pam and the aldermen and the individuals on our team that continue to take away time from their loved ones and their lives in order to make sure that all of you are safe. The Midway Defective Window Recipients has recently incorporated by Ms. Pamela ZIDARICH, Ms. Vicki Whitney, Ms. Jennifer Gutierrez, and myself, so that we can lead us all to success. On my evening drives home from downtown in sometimes dreaded traffic conditions, I always try to touch base and talk to my sister to catch up on our busy week and our lives and our kids, and she told me that she saw an article in the Southwest News Herald that she wanted to read to me, and I thought it was going to be about a new place opening up for us to take the kids that weekend, but much to my surprise, she read me the article that was in this newspaper. And I recall that the traffic was dreaded and the rain, especially like yesterday and today, was especially slow. And on that Friday evening, the substance of the information that she read to me was just so concerning. And as she continued to read it, I was just so intrigued. I asked her to contact Pam, who was featured in the newspaper article, right away. And the very next morning, we were knocking on her door and sitting on her couch, and we were in her living room, and we were ready to know. We were ready to know why my two small nephews are constantly plagued with respiratory symptoms, why they have to take massive amounts of prescription medications, why they're sick all the time, why they are always at the doctor's office, and why they are experiencing progressively worsening symptoms as they get older. And I want to introduce Nathan and Noah. These boys deserve an answer. They do. And we're going to get it for you guys. That day, on Pam's couch, I was ready to know all that Pam knew that very morning in her living room. However, the RSIP and the CDA were not transparent with her or brave enough to give her the real answer. And to this date, we still have reason to believe that they have the answer to this plague we are living in, but they just outright refuse to tell us. Luckily for everyone sitting in this room, Pam and I will not take no for an answer. She will not take no. She will ask every question to find out every answer she can. Throughout this journey, we have overturned many stones regarding our rock and our hard place. The risks that we all take by waiting for the RSIP and the CDA are unsurmountable as they continue to talk to us in circles, give us false answers, brush off our concerns, ignore our calls, leave messages unreturned. Our concerns we have expressed to them have fallen on deaf ears. I would like to take this time to propose to the mayor, Mr. Rahm Emanuel of this great city of Chicago, to contact Pam or myself to let us know what he is personally doing to answer our concerns, as well as the concerns relayed to the Aviation Commissioner, Ms. Ginger Evans, by the alderman on previous locations. He has been silent. I am up to number 17 Freedom of Information Act requests that have come back with no information available. 17 times. I find that very highly suspect. The City of Chicago's Department of Aviation directly reports to the mayor's office, and I would encourage the mayor himself to address the concerned citizens that have been plagued by this unnecessary burden of defective and hazardous windows. The CDA's mission on their website contains multiple things, but I emphasize one thing. They state that they continue to be the international leader in airport sustainability by integrating environmental best practices into all aspects of the airport. The citizens that surround the airport are concerned and are included with all aspects of that airport. I emphasize their own core mission they are failing miserably at. Our nonprofit will attempt all means necessary in order to get answers from the community, to the community directly. I am motivated to be involved with getting to the bottom of this and the defective windows provided by the RSIP and the CDA. Now, Pam touched on this landscape revenue. Let's talk about the 2016 budget overview for the entire city of Chicago. $7.84 billion in the budget. Aviation takes 15% of that amount. It is extremely large. But the problem they have created is not a small problem. So they better go back into that budget and start squeezing some pennies, because this issue needs to be resolved. As the nonprofit and representatives of you, we will do for the community is hire a highly skilled and highly sought after industrial hygienist and chemist that is qualified to give us the real answer about our potentially toxic and hazardous exposure that has plagued us. We will serve as your information gatherer, your fighting chance, your liaison, and your representative that will attain results. As we stand up here today, I want to show you that we care. We care about our loved ones, and we also care about our community. In return, we ask that everyone else show care and support the team in order to make sure that the plague disappears, and that we can one day leave here a community event after receiving much success and enter our homes and know that we are safe. During the expert testing process, we will make educated decisions on behalf of the community, along with our qualified advisors, our political leaders, our neighbors, and our colleagues. We are trying to make a streamlined process, so we developed a call log, which you will see. We have them in the back, and we have them up here by Pam and myself, on how to get to confirm the smell, the dreaded smell. And you will notice at the bottom of the log, like Pam touched on, there is an authorization that when you have failures with them, when they refuse to return your calls or take your calls, you send that information. You can email, you can drop it off by Pam, you can send it to our P.O. box, and we will go on and we will ask, why didn't you answer them? Why didn't you take their call? Why didn't you schedule testing? We want to make sure that you give us the authorization to do so, so make sure that you fill out the log and all the information in its entirety and return it to us at your convenience. And we will contact the CDA and we will make sure that answers are given. For those dealing with the City of Chicago's Law Department's experts from Amick Foster Wheeler and are in the process of getting this done and the list of the confirmed smells, Pam and I, at your request, will make ourselves available to be present with you in your homes to make sure that all inspections are correct, that they are taking all the information from you, not hiding it or ignoring it, and we will make sure that the correct questions are asked from a homeowner's perspective. It must be disclosed to everyone, and there is an understanding that what we're dealing with, there is no testing standard. Our current situation doesn't have a comparable. There's no handbook to look at. There's no instruction manual. There's no guidelines. We are prepared to set the standard. The Illinois compiled statute says in part, the General Assembly finds that 1, indoor air pollution is a serious threat to public health. The United States Environmental Protection Agency considers indoor air pollution to be the #1 environmental health threat in the United States. 2, the state of Illinois lacks guidelines that define and protect indoor air quality. The development of these guidelines is required to ensure the health and safety of the people of Illinois. But we don't have guidelines. So what is your safety? What do they go by? We're going to set the standard for that. The Midway Defective window recipients are standing here ready to dig deep for the real answers. And we understand that when we get the answer, it may not be positive, and it may be a very harsh reality to take in, and very painful news to share with your loved ones and your neighbors, and will open up an entirely whole new set of concerns. However, we are ready to take on that responsibility for all of us. The egregious actions of those who we expect the basic human respect from, our RSIP and CDA personnel, will be exposed. The truth will come out. Pam and I, we are all in. We need all of you to be all in. With your continued support as we will be challenged, we know that we will hit many roadblocks, and we may even feel defeated on some days, and we know it will be a challenge. But we will take on such large responsibility for all of you. And all of us know, we should know what it is if we are being harmed or poisoned. I cannot urge you enough to continue to stay an active participant with us. We ask that if you can spare any amount of a donation to help with this journey, from the bottoms of our hearts, we appreciate it. We have a link on our Facebook page to give donations by credit card or PayPal. We accept cash and check, and we provide a receipt for your taxes, and everything is tax deductible due to our federal 501(c)(3) status. We welcome all of you to stay and ask questions to us. Tell us your experiences throughout this process as we share with each other. And the more that we know as a whole, the more successful we will be at this endeavor. Thank you.
Just one word from the Alderman right quick.
Good evening, everybody. I don't want to be repetitive. I think your advocates tonight have done an excellent job in letting the community know that this issue isn't going to go away. I think just by the turnout here tonight, it says a lot about the organizational skills that the not-for-profit has, the interest by the community in this issue, and the fact that we need to get a resolution from the city of Chicago. Very quickly, this issue, I originally heard about this issue from a phone call from Pam after she had brought the issue to Alderman Quinn. And I said openly to a couple of the media outlets that for years we had this sound installation program, and we really never got a lot of complaints. Back in, I'm not quite sure if it was 2002, 2003, when the passenger facility charge, the PFC, which was a $3 charge for every airline ticket sold in the country, was passed in Washington by former Congressman Bill Lipinski. That money was to be used for airport operations throughout the country. And originally, money was taken from that tax, and they started soundproofing homes up by O'Hare. And then Congressman Lipinski, myself, a couple of the elected officials talked to Mayor Daley and said, what about Midway Airport? Fast forward, 10,000 houses have been insulated. Sometimes that process alone is confusing. There's a lot of different terms that go with the sound insulation program, but if you live within a 65 and above DNL, decibel noise level, your house is entitled to soundproofing. That alone causes a lot of confusion and concerns. I've had many times neighbors come in to see me, they're walking home from church, and they get to their block and they're talking about the week to come. One neighbor will say, yeah, well, they're coming out tomorrow to put windows in my house, and the neighbor right across the street, looking up at the same Southwest jet, either taking off or landing, isn't entitled to the windows. So that's a challenge on its own. And then this issue came up where the smells were detected, and Pam really brought this to Alderman Quinn and started the ball rolling. That takes a lot of guts, it really does. And now with Ann and all the people on the team, I can just repeat what Marty said. And by the way, I have to tell you that Marty Quinn's one of the best aldermen I've seen come along in the city council in a long time. Believe me, and I've seen a lot come and go. And speaking of people that have seen a lot come and go, Alderman Burke, you know, he's been there the longest. He's the longest serving alderman in Chicago. But the fact that Alderman Burke, Alderman Quinn, myself, Speaker Madigan, Congressman Lipinski, we're all going to work together. That's important. You don't want people peeling off and saying, oh, it doesn't really affect all my ward. Now we got Alderman Lopez on board. Alderman Curtis is asking a lot of questions. So just so the public knows, that are people that came out tonight. On October 11th, four aldermen, Alderman Quinn, myself, Burke, and Lopez, introduced an ordinance that is going to, if we pass it, require the city, no matter whether the windows are in or out of warranty, that if we find that there's a problem, that they be replaced, because they're fighting on the warranty issue. So I thank you for allowing me to speak. It's an honor to be here in front of all the neighbors on the southwest side. And just to reiterate finally what Alderman Quinn and Ann and Pam said, we're not going to let this go. We're in the midst of our budget hearings. They started today. And next week, Aviation will be up, and Alderman Quinn and I were talking about a lot of things we want to go over with the commissioner and her staff. So thank you all for coming out, and look forward to meeting again soon.